So today I'm going to show you how I load my excavator into this trailer, how I tie it down safely, and how I offload it. Let's get started. So the first thing I do before loading is I make sure that my wheels are chocked. The other thing that I always do is put my truck in neutral and set my parking brake. That keeps the transmission from being damaged and also keeps it from rolling. And I'm going to show you something that I just thought of that I'm going to try for the first time. Let's see how this works. I've been thinking of how could I stabilize the back of the trailer. There's no stabilization jacks on this trailer. And so I looked into ordering some, and it just seemed like a lot of hassle to find the right one, where I was going to weld it on. So I came up with this idea of using these little jacks out of my shop. And I thought, well, I'll just put these in the back of the trailer, and that'll keep the trailer from tipping back or from raising the back of the truck when I'm loading. Let's see how that works. Let's just say this is going to be a little bit of an insurance policy, because this jack is on the dirt, so it may have a little compression, and this not even touching the frame. But if the trailer does want to tilt back, at least this jack will offer some resistance. And I have two of those to place, one on each side. All right, better than nothing. So there's a little angle iron on the end of this ramp, and it fits right in this little slot here. Locks it in pretty well. And for this little machine, I put the ramps all the way as close to the middle as they can go. It lines up perfectly with these tracks. Okay, that was not the most graceful of loadings I've ever done, but it's a little wet this morning, so my rubber tracks did slip right when I was getting over that crest. Anytime I'm going up a steep hill, I always extend my boom and bucket way out to the front to give me a little more weight in the front, and that would always keep you from tilting backwards. And the other thing I do is, when I'm loading or ever going up a steep hill, I always have my blade in the back. And now I have my blade down. Now that I'm loaded, I lower the blade for more stability. So I have the blade on the ground and I have the bucket on the ground. Since this is such a short trail, it's only 10 foot long, even though this is a tiny excavator, I still have to put my boom to the side here at an angle and put it in the corner. Have to be very careful not to let this boom touch this part of the trailer, because if I got in a wreck and the excavator was jammed forward, I could bend this hydraulic cylinder. So I always want to try to keep a little space between there, and then once I get it tied down with my chains, it's safe from moving. So as you can see here, I have this end hooked to the D-ring and this end hooked to the axle of the excavator. So in the back, as you can see, I cross these two chains. And the reason I do that is if I try to tie this chain, the left chain, onto the left axle, what it does is the chain hits the rubber track, and I don't want it to be the chain to be pressing against this track here. So by crossing them, you avoid this, leaves a little space right here. Now these are 1/4 inch chains with 1/4 inch binders. I like this ratchet type better than the type that just clamps. I carry a few extra buckets. This is my 30-inch grading bucket, so it's just placed right over the blade of the excavator. Let's take a look at the front. It's a little different in the front. In the front, I'm using a 3/16 inch chain, a ratchet binder. They're tied into the D-rings on the trailer, and it goes to the front of the excavator, which has a little loop welded on it for tying down. Now, in the front here, I could use 2 of these ratchet binders, one on this side and one on the other side, but I don't find that's really necessary. What I'd like to do is tie this in to the D-ring on the left front corner and just go through this loop and come here. That eliminates one of these ratchets. I have an extra one, but it's just easier to do it like this. This will put enough tension in the entire chain to tie it down securely. Now, I don't believe for this small machine, this E10 is only about 2,600 pounds. So I don't think that this 3/16 chain is necessary. The 1/4 inch chain is more than enough. But I just happen to have this chain and binder from some other equipment, so I use it. So I'll show you how I offload this machine off of this dump trailer now. Same thing for the front chains. Just flip this little switch to loosen it, and you do have to hold this thing to keep it from turning. And just loosen it enough so you can take this clevis off of the chain. Now what I do is, since I'm only using one binder and one chain, I run it through the loop, run it over here. I just run it over the bucket because the law says that any implement on a piece of machinery has to be tied down in addition to 4 points on the machine so that the machine can't move forward, backwards, or side to side. And in addition, anything that's sticking off of the machine, any kind of implement appendage, has to also be tied down. So I'm able to just use this one chain to tie everything down. Otherwise, I would just use a strap. Okay, let's get it started up and see if we can offload this machine. seatbelt, take your time. Don't put the RPMs too high on the machine. Go nice and slow. Keep your weight distributed by extending your bucket. Now I have one more thing I want to point out about loading any piece of equipment, is the placement on the trailer. So as you can see right here, here are the two axles. You always want the center of gravity of the machine to be slightly forward of these axles. So have that weight a little bit forward, just so you can have a little weight on that hitch over there. That's going to give you good traction and better handling on your truck. If the machine is too far forward, then what's going to happen is it's going to push down on the hitch. It's going to lift the front of your truck, and you're going to lose your ability to steer. If the machine is too far back, then the trailer is going to lift up, and you're not going to have good traction in the back. It could cause your truck to sway down the highway. So you always want to have this machine loaded in the correct position, a little bit forward of the axle, the center of the axles. Now, on this machine, it just so happens is I don't have very much option, because as you can see, the blade is almost at the very back of the trailer, and the bucket is all the way in the front, almost touching the front of the trailer. So this is pretty much where it has to go for me. I could load the machine just the opposite, but I like having the blade in the back, so when I'm going down the ramps, that blade provides me extra protection of not tipping forward. I've loaded it both ways, with the blade forward and the blade back, and they both work, but I just prefer having the blade in the back. It's just my preference. All right, guys, that's it. How to load and unload and how to tie down Bobcat E10 excavator into a 10-foot dump trailer. I hope that answered some of your questions. Some of you were asking me for this information, and I thought I'd make a video on it. If you have any other questions, just leave them down in the comments. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. All right, guys, I hope you check into my channel, look at my other videos about excavators, digging, machines. I have all kind of stuff. Have a good day.